On this episode of Urban U, exploring the American experience during the Holocaust, a traveling exhibit from the U.S. Holocaust Museum delves into pertinent questions that remain relevant today, with CUNY's CityTech being selected as one of the venues to host it. New York City Council member Natasha Williams tells us about CUNY's role into her journey to political office. An in-depth interview examines CUNY's comprehensive services for students with disabilities, and a program of the CUNY Creative Arts team and the mayor's office reveals its commitment to supporting young women in the music business. All this and more CUNY Stories. Welcome to Urban U.
This exhibit has a number of themes. It asks us to think about what did Americans know during and after the Holocaust, and also what Americans might have done differently in the 1930s and 1940s, in the lead up to the Holocaust and to the Second World War.
Keith Muchowski is a librarian and professor at the Ursula C. Schwerin Library at the New York City College of Technology. The library recently hosted Americans and the Holocaust, a traveling exhibit of the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. The exhibit explores Americans' attitudes and knowledge of the events surrounding the Holocaust.
In the 1930s, we see the rise of Adolf Hitler and the rise of fascism and authoritarian movements in Europe and around the world, and the exhibit asks us to think about the reasons why Americans responded in the ways that they did. After Kristallnacht in November of 1938, there were attacks on thousands and thousands of Jewish homes and businesses and synagogues, and they poll people and say, do you approve of what's happening to the Jews? And 90+% say no, we do not approve, but should we allow in more Jewish refugees? 70+% say no, we should not do that.
Muchowski says the exhibit makes clear that in the 1930s, Americans were aware of the escalating persecution of Jews in Nazi Germany.
New York City alone had upwards of a dozen newspapers in the 1920s and 1930s. We see the rise of radio in the 1920s and 30s. So Americans, they knew a lot.
In the 1920s, the U.S. set up immigration laws that set quotas for new immigrants. During the Great Depression in the 30s, isolationism and anti-Semitism are seen as reasons U.S. public opinion opposed allowing in Jewish refugees or intervening in Europe.
What we see here is Eleanor Roosevelt, who was First Lady at the time, and Mrs. Roosevelt was an advocate for something that was called the Wagner-Rogers Bill, which would have allowed 20,000 refugees, primarily Jewish refugees, into the United States above the visa quota. That was eventually struck down. One of the reasons why was because of public opinion. And here we see a public opinion poll from January of 1939. It has been proposed that the government permit 10,000 refugee children from Germany to be brought into this country and taken care of in American homes. Do you favor this plan? And actually 66% of Americans say no, they do not. There were individuals who tried to save individual Jews. There were charitable organizations that raised money, but also they were facing great hindrances and great odds at the same time. I think one thing that people would be surprised about are the parallels between things that were happening in the United States, such as the Jim Crow race laws that we had here in the United States, and the comparison between the Jim Crow race laws and the Nuremberg race laws that the Germans put forth in the mid-1930s. That's certainly the thing that students take away the most.
The exhibit shows how concepts of race in the U.S. were not so different in Nazi Germany. This was made clear when Germany hosted the Olympics.
Jesse Owens was an African-American athlete who won 4 gold medals at the 1936 Summer Olympics in Germany. So here we see Jesse Owens winning one of his gold medals in the 1936 Olympics, which actually greatly enraged Adolf Hitler. I think that people should think about how their society will be perceived by the people of the future. I think the exhibit draws on a lot of themes that might give us pause today, such as immigration restriction, isolationism. So all of these factors are all taking place in this time that lead to Americans to the responses that they so choose in the 1930s and 40s. Students are very perceptive and they see the parallels in history. There's a saying that a history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. I think students pick up on that.
For Urban U, this is Shannon Ayala.
History shows, again and again, that education is the best tool to combat anti-Semitism. That is why CUNY, as New York City's public university system, has the critical responsibility to support Holocaust education. And why it is important as part of our multifaceted effort to address anti-Semitism and more broadly to increase understanding and respect between diverse religious, ethnic, and cultural groups on our campuses. Over the past year, our efforts have included helping our campuses increase their vigilance against all forms of bias and hate, partnering with Hillel's International Campus Climate Initiative, and making it easier for members of our community to report incidents of hate speech, violent discrimination, and retaliation. We have committed over $1.3 million to support a wide range of anti-hate programs across our 25 campuses. We also combat anti-Semitism in ways that are symbolic but still meaningful, like joining the Stand Up to Jewish Hate campaign as we did last May. In ways that might not always be obvious, these and all efforts to confront anti-Semitism are acts of Holocaust remembrance.
My name is Paula, DaSilva-Michelin, and I started at the Center for Immigrant Education and Training. We're part of the Adult Continuing Education at LaGuardia Community College. We offer free English classes and workforce training programs for the low-income immigrants in New York City. I started the program in 2001, and then I became the director in 2016. The center was funded by Summa Curian, with the goal of offering English classes for the local community. So at that time, most of our students were just students from South America, and it was a much smaller program. We always work with grant funded, so our classes are completely free. Our students are all now tradition students, and we are in Queens, who serves the largest immigrant community. Now traditionally meaning they come in, they're older, most of them are parents. So the idea of creating the center was really to offer a service to the community that we felt there was a need. Right? Once you make the decision to come to New York or be in the United States, then we want to be able to offer these individuals the best opportunities so they can be successful here as well. So when I started working here, we had family literacy program as one of the classes that we offered. But nowadays we offer citizenship. We also have civics. We also have a very large portfolio of workforce training programs, mostly in the healthcare.
Soy Antonia Rodríguez, soy dominicana. Vine a este país en el 2005 con el sueño de continuar mi carrera aquí en este país como enfermera. Los retos cuando llegamos a este país son muchos. El idioma es el principal porque pensamos que las personas no nos van a entender y entonces eso da mucho temor. Por ejemplo, en mi caso de enfermería, Incluso yo fui a una agencia donde ayudan a conseguir trabajo a los inmigrantes y decían, en tu caso nosotros no podemos porque tú tienes que validar tu degree, tú tienes que coger un examen aquí, entonces es frustrante. Al principio fue un poco difícil buscando información y no encontrando dónde tenía que ir. Me decían que yo tenía que comenzar la escuela nuevamente. Entonces un día una persona que ayuda a las enfermeras con el proceso para registrarse y validar el grado aquí en este país, me dijo que LaGuardia tenía clases de repaso para enfermeras extranjeras. Entonces yo dije, oh, está perfecto.
My name is Ava Nandez, and I work as an education case manager. We help in everything from beginning to end. We are recruiting students for the program, and the goal of the program of the NCLEX RN for English language learners is to identify applicants that have their nursing degree and license from their country of origin, who are residents in New York City and have permission to work, to assist them in passing the licensing exam, which allow them to work as registered nurses in New York City. My grandparents are from Puerto Rico, and I've seen, because of the lack of services, also the lack of connecting to those services and navigating through the city, that there were many opportunities that they didn't have for themselves, as well as my parents. So, you know, what CUNY does well is looks at the needs in the population in terms of the industry and the job market, and it seeks to meet those needs and develop programs to meet those needs. And that's why, like, right now we see there's a shortage in healthcare professions. And the motivation is knowing that there's people that, you know, with a lot of effort, many have left their family behind. You're just left to wanting to help someone for improvement, to improve their life for themselves as well as their family. Also, they want to contribute to the city to improve life here for everyone else.
I wanted to do something in service to others, so I've always had a passion to do some type of community work. I didn't know what that would be.
That passion led CUNY graduate student Natasha Williams to politics. She now represents the Queens community where she grew up as a New York City Council member.
This morning when we did the ribbon cutting, one of the things I talked about was the full circle moment. I played in that park, I learned to swim in that park. And so being able to see positive things happening in the community and to address and problem solve for some of those negative things that have existed when I was a child that still plague our community today, and being in the driver's seat of that change is really meaningful to me on a personal level.
Was there somebody who inspired you to get into this type of work?
I have two big inspirations. One is my mom. My mom was a social worker for over 30 years with ACS. So living with a social worker, someone who essentially was dedicating her life in service to others, was always something that I sort of found great inspiration from. And also Thurgood Marshall. I remember learning about him very young, and for a very long time I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. His job was making positive change. There was just something about that sort of juxtaposition of, this is your career, you're getting paid to do this. Also, you're changing the nature and face of so many systematic problems in our country.
On top of her work as a city council person, Williams is also pursuing her PhD in social welfare at the CUNY Graduate Center.
I was very excited about going into the program. I have a love for the academic world. I think it's very thoughtful, intentional. You can create best practices. Part of why I wanted to go into the PhD program is to really take these tools and the methodology that comes out of the ivory towers that substantiates these best practices, and how can that be applied to real life to really, again, effectuate change. For me, it's always about problem solving and making positive social change.
Now, why the CUNY Graduate Center?
CUNY Graduate Center is such a welcoming community and a flexible community. I could not afford to just go to school, and so the flexibility of being able to work and go to school was really, really important for me. CUNY has a lot of diverse students, and I'm not just talking about race, but I'm just talking about how you enter into the academic space. Are you a first college student in your family? Are you a parent? All of these different types of students and how CUNY addresses the needs of different types of students is very important to me.
Through her time on the council and at CUNY, Williams has worked hard to bring about change.
Be the change you want to see, to me, means what are you doing to play an active role in whatever change you want to see, not just talking about it, but actually doing. So being the change to me is an action step, a call to action to get involved. And I wanted to make a direct impact on the lives of people that live in the district. And the best way to do that is being in local government. If I could just have, the size of a mustard seed impact on someone's life, I really take that, hold it near and dear, and use it to sort of propel me forward.
But making that change didn't always come easy.
I know I've done a lot of things that can be scary for most people, and one of the things that I've settled on is not that I lack fear, I just do it despite the fear. So I have fears all the time, before I have to go speak in front of people, I have slight anxiety about that. But my biggest thing is I have the will and the fortitude to do it, even though I may be scared or anxious or uncomfortable or not secure about what I'm doing, I still forge ahead.
I'm Scott Kirby for Urban U.
Still up on Urban U, a free program spearheaded by CUNY and the City of New York opens doors for high school students to explore careers in the music industry. But first, our sit-down interview with two disability experts who tell us about CUNY's revamped mission to ensure a comprehensively accessible college experience.
CUNY is deeply committed to ensuring equal access and opportunity for all students, including disabled students. We offer innovative support programs that are grounded in nationally regarded best practices that help ensure academic success and personal development. I am now joined in studio by Carrie Shockley, Interim University Assistant Dean for Student Inclusion Initiatives at CUNY, and Lennyn Jacob, a disability accommodation specialist from Hostos Community College. We'll talk about the enrollment questions that disabled students interested in attending CUNY may have. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lennyn, first I'd like to focus on your personal experience as a self-identified person with an invisible disability, just to give our audience a sense of disability as being not just folks in wheelchairs, but those with disabilities who cannot be immediately seen, so to speak. So could you explain that?
Sure. Well, disabilities come in all fashions. Some of them we can see and some of them we cannot see. Those that we cannot see are considered invisible disabilities. You would normally see that spectrum of disabilities covers psychiatric disabilities. It could also cover learning disabilities. Oftentimes in my work as a disability accommodation specialist, I see that most of those disabilities happen to fall around the realm of learning disabilities, which constitute difficulties with reading, difficulties with writing, and note-taking, and so on. So that's what I've seen so far as a disability accommodation specialist.
What drove you to students with disabilities over the course of time?
When you find a supportive environment that provides you what you need, you find that there's a drive in you to also give back to that same community that has helped you. And for me, that's exactly what it was. I came to BCC and I identified as a woman with a disability. I found the support system that I needed to help me through my college experience in a successful manner. And I was inspired to want to do the same thing for others.
Carrie, give us more details about the support system at CUNY. What does CUNY offer to students with disabilities?
Well, sure. First, what we're aiming for is access to coursework and content, and we do that by way of reasonable accommodations. We also have programs that focus on student success. So in addition to all of the services and supports that students may have as being enrolled at CUNY, we also have programs that focus on things like employment readiness, specifically for students with disabilities. We have a grant-funded project called Project Reach, which supports students with autism in building community and peer mentorship, mental health services, and so, facets like that. And then we have opportunities for student inclusion, which include our CUNY Coalition for Students with Disabilities, which Lennyn leads, and our adaptive sports program.
Lennyn, what's the community of disabled students at CUNY like? I know you work very hard towards community building.
So we have a really good mix, I would say, of students with disabilities that come with invisible disabilities as well as visible disabilities. It is a community that is seeking the engagement. They're seeking the opportunity to be included and to be with one another and to be just part of the CUNY community overall, right? And so through events that we hold, like movie nights, like workshops, we do conferences that we participate in. We do a variety of events that remind them that we're here and that keep them coming back for more. And I think that's part of what we strive for, is to continue that community building.
All of the campuses offer reasonable accommodations to students. Some have offices where there are multiple people there to support that, and then sometimes it's a staff person who's been assigned to support that, those students at that campus. The student groups, I believe there are 15 or 16 at the undergraduate level, and then Lennyn represents the coalition, which is the convening of all of those student groups who come together under one umbrella.
Are all events that are held university-wide, so they're available and they're open to everyone on every campus.
Does CUNY collaborate with outside local organizations and support networks to better assist disabled students?
Sure. So in addition to recruiting through external partners like Include NYC and Sydney, we also partner with organizations like AHRC NYC, which is a disability servicing agency, to support our students with intellectual disabilities. This is a relatively new model of post-secondary inclusive programs where we open access to students who typically would not have access to CUNY. And that's at 5 of our schools. And then with the New York Public Schools, we partner at another 4 campuses.
What would you say to students and parents interested in enrolling who may have certain fears of how easy or challenging the process of enrollment may be?
I think you should come to CUNY with the knowledge that the offices for disability services are here, and with the understanding that there are clubs and opportunities for you to engage outside of the classroom that are going to help you shape who you are as a student leader and as a student overall. I think that oftentimes people forget that we are here for their services, and I think that oftentimes they think, once I got my services, what else can I do? And they don't know about clubs and opportunities, and there are a lot.
Thank you both for helping us understand how disabled students are also such an important part of our CUNY community.
I've been feeling kinda lonely lately. Can't seem to figure out what you're saying. I know it's all in my head, but why you gotta choose her instead?
Sound Thinking NYC is a program that's funded by the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. It's a program specifically created and designed for young people in high school and New York City public high schools who are interested in music and music technology. We focus on the hard skills and the soft skills. We start in the summer with a 3-week summer intensive where they learn Pro Tools and the fundamentals of Pro Tools, continue throughout the school year, and we offer workshops, we do panels throughout the year, we go on multiple field trips where the young people were able to actually get some hands-on experience in the studio. There are huge discrepancies when it comes to gender representation in the industry. The program was created to address that and to speak about that and to open doors and allow access to young people, specifically young women, to things that they may encounter in the industry, or like if they're interested in, we're here to like amplify their voices. The program actually started in 2018 and was just young women. As a staff, we kind of got together and got into conversation and thought it was very important to include all genders in the conversation about gender equity. Since 2019, it's been all genders, and it's been going really great. I mean, we have lots of students who are advocates and understand the importance of having representation in spaces, and so like we're very excited about those conversations.
Someone like you. I think it's amazing how we're all kind of different, but we all share this love for music, and I think that really just bonded us. I've also just taken away how to handle myself in the music industry. You know, we get to learn what to do, how to handle certain people, because, you know, it's not all just sunshines and rainbows. I learned how to handle myself with respect and confidence. If you just handle yourself with confidence and, you know, keep your cool, you're able to, you know, push through and do anything you would like.
If you go into most production studios, most of the engineers, most of the producers are men. Our program really focuses on making sure that they understand that though that is really a norm, we want to change that. It brings some sort of pride to them to actually have spaces like this that trying to amplify their voices, but also has folks who are on their side and want their voices to also be in the space.
Look in a mirror, what do I see?
I love sound thinking. There was a point where it was like, music isn't my priority, but it was definitely a sign that life gave to me that kind of awoke that spark again to continue and pursue music. Sound thinking has opened so much doors for me and connections, and it's shown me that you can do music. Women like myself can grow and be in the industry and do amazing work in the industry.
We need the allies. We need the folks who, yeah, if you're in the door, then, hey, I have a friend, she's a wonderful female producer, I kind of want to bring her in on the project. That was like the main reason why we were like, this needs to go from just women to all genders, because we need allies.
I was aware, but I wasn't completely aware on how bad women had it in the industry. So that was also an eye-opener for me.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I think one of the most fulfilling things about being the director of this program is I've really had the opportunity to watch them literally go from like, I don't know what to do, to like, I know what I'm doing and I know what I want to do and I know how to get there. And it's just really inspiring. Like, as an adult in the space, it's really inspiring to watch people like follow their dreams.
And that's a wrap. For more episode highlights and sneak peeks into our upcoming stories, meet us on our social media platforms. Thank you for watching these stories from the largest university in the nation, the City University of New York.